All right, welcome to our bank statement training. So we've attempted our best to black everything out that could be, could expose, any personal information or, potentially put this merchant's identity at risk. So you are going to see a lot of things that are going to be blacked out. However, this is going to be a relatively simple bank statement. We feel like the simpler, the better, but you do need to identify through learning what's in the bank statements to see if a client is qualified or not. Your client might embellish the way their file is doing. It's a keen thing to be aware of that having high credit's a good thing. So naturally, the client is going to round up. Having high revenue is a good thing. So naturally, the client is going to round up. Having debt might be a negative thing. So they might round down on the amount of debt that they have. Well, looking at bank statements specifically is going to show the true colors. So the first section here is going to be this area, which is going to be a general overview of what's taking place within the bank statements. I want to point out the balance forward. It's the starting daily balance. So that's how much money the client had in their bank account on 8/31/2023. This is the deposits. So this client did $32,000 and change in their deposits. And they have their debits. This is how much they took out. This is their automatic withdrawals. And then this is their recurring deposits. So the first step on what to look for within these bank statements is going to be found here. And it's going to be the total revenue. So what we want to do is we want to add together this deposits line, which is $32,484.02. And then this automatic deposits line, which is $127,245.30. If you add those two numbers together, you're looking at a rough average of $160,000 in deposits per month. So very baseline, this is the gross revenue. But keep in mind that clients could be moving money from account to account. And if that's the case, it might show a credit or show a deposit, but it's not true revenue. So true revenue is when we factor out all things that entered the bank account that wasn't from a good that was sold. So if I sell you a good for $10,000 and you pay me that $10,000, that's gross revenue. But if I take money from account A and transfer it to account B, you're going to see a credit here, but that's not true revenue. It's not sales generated from the client. But the above arching top line number is going to be this number, $32,484.02, and this number, $127,245.30, is going to be the top. And then underwriters that are skilled are going to sift through and find anything that they should be deducted or factored out. For the sake of the argument here, we're just going to take this number and say that this is $160,000 in total gross revenue. And so that's the only thing I want you guys to remember from this training, from this course, so you can let the processors, the underwriters kind of give you feedback, and you'll get better at this as time goes on. So the most important thing that you're getting out of this section is the total gross revenue. As we know, that's top line deposits or credits we're going to have to factor out to get the true revenue. But for this sake, we're going to do 160,000, and that's where I want you guys to be for the first 3 to 6 months. Just what's the total credit count here? Now you can see some of the transactions that are taking place within the bank statements, and you can see a lot from the client. You can see where they're going to eat, what they're purchasing. Some of these clients will be living out of their business account. It's very normal for smaller businesses. For larger businesses, they typically have accounting teams. Nothing to see within this bank statement. Be mindful that every bank statement is different. So Wells Fargo is going to have average daily balances off to the right. Chase is going to look different. This bank is going to look different. They're all going to look a smidgen different, but you're looking for the same things within the bank statements. But this is all credit activity. Okay, so now this is electronic debits. So this is going to be the second thing that we're going to start looking for within the bank statements. This is going to be able to identify where there is debt. So debt is going to be classified as recurring daily or weekly payments from a funding company, That's going to be merchant cash advance debt. So we're going to include this exact copy, this blacked out copy. It's a very short bank statement. It's very easy to maneuver. But we want to take a moment to pause this video for you to try and identify on your own the potential merchant cash advance positions that are within this statement. So I'm going to let you pause this video, take as much time as you need, and come back to us with when you think that you've identified all the merchant cash advance debt that's within this video. So as we return, you should have identified 3 separate merchant cash advance positions within these bank statements. So the first one we're going to notice is going to be FundFi, Merchant Direct Pay. There's going to be a recurring payment of $265.46. As you notice as you go through the bank statements, there's going to be multiple of these. And you see on this one, which is 9/5, you see 2 payments were made. This is most likely an extra payment created because the merchant may have bounced a payment. So if you bounce a payment frequently, the funder will reach out to you and just say, hey, let's just schedule a makeup. As long as the client's being active and trustworthy with the money, then no really big issue. That's a part of the flexibility with merchant cash advance and alternative financing. But this is going to be the first one, and you're going to see this continue throughout the entirety of the bank statements. And then you're also going to be able to identify that this is a daily payment. So you're now building a borrowing profile for the client. They are someone that is willing to take a daily payment. They might be telling you over the phone that they're not, but you can see it within their bank statements that they have indeed taken a daily payment in the past. Some clients will get hung up on the payment schedule, monthly, biweekly, weekly, daily. And obviously the longer payment schedule typically going to be the more favorable for the client. But you can see that this client will indeed take a daily. Next, you're going to see BizFunder. So this is going to be a weekly payment for $823.53. You can kind of just calculate that there, every 7 days there's going to be a BizFunder payment. So we're going to be looking for the 12th. And so this one was done on the 11th. What that tells me is there could have been a bank holiday on the 12th, or maybe there's a bank holiday over here on the 6th, which is why it ended up debiting on the, on the 4th, which is why it ended up debiting on the 5th. We cannot debit on bank holidays, or we cannot debit on weekends. So with that being said, sometimes those weekly payments will fluctuate a day or so. But you're going to see that BizFunder recurring payment every 7 days, just about. Okay. And then you're going to see the last payment, which is going to be specialty. And so these things are dead giveaways when you see something like funding or capital, but most importantly, it's going to be the exact same amount every day or every week. So the recurring amount is what's going to be more prominent. Someone like myself, I've done either business or I know at least who they are for all 3 of these companies. It's because I've sifted through hundreds of thousands of sets of bank statements at this point. I mean, we're receiving thousands of submissions a month through our in-house funding platform. We see these things all the time. But even I'm not perfect. There's new funders that come up frequently. So we rely on AI and parsing systems to help us with this stuff. But it is important for you to understand what this looks like so you can kind of do a little self-assessment on the file before it gets to underwriting. It's going to help you become a better closer. But you're going to see this specialty capital payment of $1,191.67. You're naturally going to go about 7 days down to the 14th-ish. See another specialty capital payment. Now, I don't see the next specialty capital payment. That should be around the 21st. So what that means is that this payment could have fallen off. That means that the specialty capital deal could have been rendered paid in full during this time. I'm not 100% sure. This is a question that you may want to ask your client before submitting the deal. That way you can get a little bit more clarity, ensure that they didn't put a stop payment on there, which could affect the deal negatively. But this would be an area where we would be asking the client for either other bank statements or through the merchant interview what's taking place there. So now we're wrapping up the second piece of this, which is identifying the positions that are in the bank statements. It's going to be the most complicated piece because you really have to sift through this. And true revenue, right, is going to be something that you're going to have to really understand what's going on within the bank statements. It's not rocket science. It just takes a little bit of practice and understanding who the lenders are. And then the last piece of the bank statements that are important, I guess the third piece, there's one more piece after this. So the third piece that's really important is going to be daily balance. So this is going to be able to tell us how much the client can afford, not from a leverage perspective, but from the amount that they keep in their bank account. Some clients are going to be more responsible than others, and they're never going to let their accounts go negative. More importantly, they're going to keep really healthy balances. In their minds, maybe going under $15,000 is like going below zero. And you can identify with yourself. Everyone, including myself, has a kind of an idea in their head of what they're comfortable with in terms of the amount that they like to keep in their bank statements in their account. And if they go below that account, maybe you get a little bit more frugal, or a little bit more frivolous with it, you're a little less frivolous with your spending. And some clients are a little less responsible. Sometimes clients will actually go negative, and they might go negative multiple times a month, which can affect their approvals with us. So not only are we looking at how much money's coming in, we're also looking at how much they keep in their account. And as you can tell here, every single day it breaks down the amount of money that they kept in their account. This client's very responsible. You do see on the 21st, it goes down to $950. This would be a low balance day, not a negative day, not an NSF, but a low balance day. And that low balance means that they kind of go to like the red zone of how much money they keep in their account. It will be something that tier one lenders will look at, but overall, extremely healthy. Okay. And then overdrafts. So this kind of goes in pair with, this is going to be the fourth and final thing that you're going to look at within a bank statement. If you see any days that end negative here, that's going to be more important than an NSF, but they're both important. An NSF means that the account went negative because maybe you had $9,000 in the account and you try to make a 10K payment and the bank rejected it and said you don't have enough money in there. But you still have that 9,000 within the account. Sometimes the account will actually go negative, and that means that the client has overdraft protection, which in some areas is a good thing, but the client is being irresponsible to the point where the account is going fully negative. That's a really bad sign. However, with merchant cash advance and alternative financing, people will still be able to acquire funding products even if their account goes negative, but it needs to be within reason. And the more the account goes negative, the further down the lender list you're going to be going in terms of tiers, in terms of paper. You're going to be going down to that tier C, tier D, maybe even tier E/F, like kind of the default lenders, if you have that high of a risk because your account's going negative frequently. But you can see that this client has no overdrafts within this period. That period is just for the month snapshot of what this bank statement is. But you do see that there's $204 in total overdraft fees. I can't tell exactly how much the fee is per overdraft. I would imagine it's $30-ish, something like that. So maybe there's a couple extra dollars in terms of, processing. So this merchant probably went overdraft like 6 times ish, maybe 7 throughout the year. It's not too bad. It's actually it's a pretty good account in regards to like the alternative financing space. Hopefully your accounts aren't going negative often, but sometimes running a business, they do happen to go negative. So to recap, up here, the most important thing that you're seeing is what's the total deposits, which you're going to calculate as the total revenue for now, as it's a little bit difficult to start factoring out things like, investment income or transfers or, income that just wasn't revenue. So you're going to be going off that. You're going to be looking within the bank statements, specifically in the electronic debits section, to see if there's anything in here that looks like debt. Then you're going to be coming down to this section. It's going to be different with every bank statement to find the average daily balance, see how healthy they keep their account. And then lastly, you're going to kind of check this section and the overdraft section to figure out how often that client overdrafts their bank account or how often they end their day negative. This is like 101 training. It gets much more complicated as you start underwriting. However, this should give you at least a basis to understand kind of the credit profile of the client, how healthy their account is as soon as you get the bank statements. And the more you understand those things, the better you can process your files and pair the merchant with the right lender, and also manage that merchant's expectations and potentially be that financial advisor, help them clean up their account for future deals.